Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard with you alongside Ben Anderson, kind enough to hang out for the first segment of the show. Mitch Harper will join us coming up at 2:05. We'll have another weekly chat with Kurt Helin, and we'll even talk a little hockey with the man himself, Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth, coming up later on as well. But, Ben, do you see the light at the end of the tunnel for the Jazz season? I mean, is this the dog days of February for you?
This is the dog days of the rebuild, and I had kind of speculated about this maybe a month ago. This was before the trade deadline, just thinking this, because of where the Jazz had kind of positioned themselves, would probably won a few more games than they'd expected, and you knew they were going to do everything they had to hold on to this pick. I just thought, one way or another, they're not going to be tanking again next season.
Yes.
One way or another, it was going to stop. Whether it was just Keontae and Lowry and Walker Kessler or Ace Bailey, whatever they were going to invest in, or free agency, they were going to try and win next year. And I didn't know Jaren Jackson Jr. was going to be a part of that, but obviously that signaled fully this is done. In fact, they don't even own their draft pick next year. But knowing it was already going to be a tough tanking stretch, now with what they're going through, that is, relatively thin margin, this is going to be the most brutal part to get to that light at the end of the tunnel. The longest day of the year for kids is Christmas Eve. It's the last day before you finally get to enjoy it. That's the hardest part. It's the last day of school. So, yeah, the light of the tunnel is coming, but it's made it feel like, even for me, I don't care about the outcomes of the games at all. I am excited to tell a different story next year and talk about a new narrative next year. And this last 25 games is going to be a slog for everybody involved.
Yeah, and you got another injury last night. You've got Yusuf and that nose that's going to be surgically repaired, and that's going to sit him for a bit. And so we all know what direction this thing is going. What can you accomplish? Like, if you're Will Hardy, what can you look to accomplish the final 20-some-odd games of the year?
I really mean this. Probably nothing.
Okay.
And I really mean this. And that's not to end the conversation. I think that is to open up a new conversation about just like, I really am not a believer of like the close win or the close loss, I should say. And everyone being like, look at how competitive they are and still losing. This is the best scenario. Like, they're playing fourth quarter possessions that really matter. It's like, for what? Like, what's going to matter next year is, does Jaren Jackson Jr. score on the isolation play at the end of the game? And he wasn't even on the team in those close losses. So, like, nothing you did back then actually is going to have all that much impact on what happens next game. And, yeah, maybe Keontae's a little bit better because of it. Maybe. Lowry might be a little bit better because of it. But Lowry's been suffering close losses since he got into the league. He's never made the playoffs. Like, how much do you actually learn from that? No, I think you learn from winning. I don't think you learn from losing as much as we like to be romantic about sports. So, these last 25 games, the most important thing is losing. It's not necessarily about losing the right way. I don't even know if it's about Ace Bailey getting 20 shots a game, which I think is going to be in the cards for him. Like, maybe he will benefit from some of that, but he doesn't start next season with 20 shots.
No.
So,
and there's no amount of valuation you're going to learn more about these guys down the stretch that you haven't already learned.
At this point, no, I don't think there's a whole lot. The one thing I want those guys to know is that this is a marathon, and that this is going to be a marathon next year as well. And in fact, the marathon ends by celebrating another marathon once you get to the playoffs. Like, that's what you maybe need to train Ace Bailey to be prepared for is, hey, man, these 82 games are as grueling as you think, and probably more so you got to prepare for that next year. Nothing that's happening on the court.
So, all right, where do the Jazz need to end to make sure that they are guaranteed a spot to hold on to that?
Positioning-wise?
Positioning-wise, yeah.
Guaranteed would be fourth place.
Okay.
They are in sixth right now.
Okay.
So they would need two teams to jump them, and I really do not think that's going to happen because the team that is likely to is the New Orleans Pelicans, because New Orleans doesn't own their draft pick, and they're 2 wins behind the Jazz right now. So New Orleans might as well win because they don't actually want to give Atlanta the number 1 overall pick, because that just makes Joe Dumars and their front office look even worse, that they gave up a number 1 pick in this year's draft. So they might as well try to win. They might as well try and accomplish some things at the end of the season that they do hope carries over. In fact, any other team right now, they would have just shut him down for the season. But DeJounte Murray, who tore his Achilles last year for the Pelicans, is making his season debut, I think, tonight, and should be in action on Thursday when the Pelicans come to town. Like, everybody else would just say, whoa. Like, we're not going to see Kyrie Irving the rest of the year. Dallas isn't trying to win. But the Pelicans are just saying we might as well get this group on the floor for 20 games and see if there's something here. So DeJounte is going to be playing tonight and probably Thursday and then probably Saturday against the Jazz. They've got Jordan Poole out there trying to play. They've got Zion trying to play. If the Jazz want to lose that game, they will have the opportunity. You can't guarantee it, but they'll have the opportunity. So maybe the Pelicans jump them. I'd say it's almost likely, and that would give the Jazz the fifth best odds of winning the lottery and also a far more likely chance of holding on to their pick. Right now, they're at 96% chance. Like, they would hold on to their pick if the lottery was tonight. If they move to fifth as opposed to sixth, it jumps up to 99.6 or 99.4, like almost guarantees it. So I think if they finish with no worse than where they are today, they should feel very confident. If they go to fifth, they should go into lottery night, truly hoping they win, not worried about if they're going to lose their pick.
And again, last year they were number one. They slid all the way down to 5, which was crazy. But again, you certainly like your odds of where you're at and the opportunity to pick.
And that's not what this year's about. This year is not about do you need the number one pick.
No,
you actually have your guys. Lowry, Keontae, and Jaren Jackson Jr. are your guys. You don't need to get that guy in the draft. Now, if you can add one, great. That's whipped cream on top of the ice cream sundae. You'll gladly take it, but you don't have to have it.
How much have you spent looking at this draft class, and do you believe that it is of the quality that everybody thinks it is?
I do. Now, I will tell you honestly, I don't really dive into the draft class until after the season because I watch so much NBA basketball.
You're not watching a lot of college hoops.
I don't need to watch college basketball right now outside of what's happening locally, and I will pick up the games locally. But even then, I hesitate a little bit because I still have biases. And I will watch a player early and be like, oh, I like that guy. And then I will try and confirm my willingness to like that person by overlooking things throughout the season. Like, I'm just not that unbiased yet looking at, and I don't mean for BYU or Utah, I mean for the actual player themselves. I'm like, oh, I like what that guy does. And then I will excuse other things they do wrong. So I try to not pick a favorite early in the year. I try to really go after the Jazz season ends, and the nice thing is they end in mid-April, so I have a lot of time before the June draft to really dive into these guys. And I try and watch at least 2 games of all of them and give them the exact same kind of basis, so I feel like I'm confident in what I'm actually looking at versus less biased. So, but yes, along those lines, the fact that A.J. DeBonsa scores 30 regularly, he's going to be a huge scorer in the NBA. There's just no question about it. He's going to be an absolutely massive scorer in the NBA. Darryn Peterson, if he likes basketball or stays healthy, is going to be an absolutely massive scorer in the NBA. Cam Boozer is going to be, it's so funny to hear people be like, well, his ceiling's low. He might just be Domantas Sabonis or Kevin Love. It's like, well, Kevin Love's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Domantas Sabonis is going to be a borderline Hall of Famer. So, if the drawback is that he's not Wilt Chamberlain, but he's maybe Kevin Love. Every team should want Kevin Love in his prime. So the draft is already that good, and I really do believe at the top it's going to be that high level.
All right, so I have not talked to David Locke about this. I guarantee you, if I bring up the Darryn Peterson situation with David, he's like, I don't care. It's college. Doesn't matter. I don't. No GM's going to care about that. Okay, but because David doesn't care about what goes on at that level. And I totally get it and understand. I'm not saying he's wrong, but when you see a guy that there may be questions about his competitiveness, how much red flags does that cause within an NBA front office, or does it not? And they're like, hey, look, you know what? It's college. He's got a lot of people in his ear. He's protecting himself. We get him here. We get him in our program, and it'll be off to the races.
My maybe hottest take I have in all of basketball is that we meaning the actual people who make these decisions, the draft war rooms overthink the draft. I really think they overthink the draft. I think they watch too much basketball, and I know they would scoff at that. And it's people's jobs, that's their entire job. So of course they want to protect their value, but I really think they overdo it. I think they look so closely that they start to pick things apart that are not worth picking apart. And one of them is body language or this type of competitiveness. And look, if a guy fails and he had bad body language in college and then he has it in the NBA, you're going to say, see, it was real. But I can look at Jaden McDaniels for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's an awesome two-way wing who couldn't have cared less that he played basketball at Washington. I watched him. I thought, look at those physical tools. Those are insane. Oh, the rest of his team doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just can't wait to get out of here. This is just a hurdle in the way. He's turned into a great player. Now, that doesn't mean every player who looks lackadaisical on the floor is somebody you should draft. But I think if you want to just say that, oh, man, he doesn't care here, that means he's not going to care there. I do think it's two totally different conversations.
What should worry Darryn Peterson more? People thinking that he's injured or thinking that he doesn't care?
Injured.
Yeah.
Because if he's actually injured, if there's something wrong about his body that cramps up too much, like that becomes a real issue. You know, a guy who can't find a way to stay hydrated or body doesn't react to the wear and tear of the NBA. Like, you're playing 35 games right now at 30 minutes a night, and you get 4 games off in between every or 4 days off between every game. You play every other night in the NBA for 82 games. Like, if you can't be on the floor, that's going to be the biggest problem. So I would actually want to know that his medicals are clean. If his medicals are clean, then I don't really care about him not wanting to play at Kansas, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you don't care, but you do think there will probably be some front offices that do care just because of the overthink thing.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, we saw it with Ace Bailey. Like, all of that nonsense. Again, the nonsense around Ace Bailey came in the last 3 weeks of the draft process. Like, there was the weird, he's not working out for anybody. Like, why is he not doing that? Okay, he'll host some workouts late, and that's not uncommon at all. A lot of guys, like, how many teams did Wemby work out for? 0? Maybe one? Maybe San Antonio?
I think it was San Antonio, was it? Yeah.
I think Cooper Flagg worked out for 2 teams.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't do that in, March 30th after the tournament had ended. Like, he waited until June 15th. Mm-hmm. Like, the entire Ace Bailey pre-draft nonsense, which is part of his party's problem. It was their fault. I don't think it was the NBA's fault, but was a 2-week issue, and he dropped maybe 4 spots in the draft, maybe 3 spots in the draft because of how he handled the last 2 weeks. So yeah, teams really look too closely at that and are painfully human in those issues where they think, I got my last impression was a bad one, and so I'm going to adjust how I draft.
I just think I think it's interesting how Bill Self was all about protecting him, and now Bill Self's kind of turned on him a little bit.
I think it's hurt Darryn Peterson how much they've protected him.
Yeah.
Go answer for it.
Yeah.
Go tell people why. It hurt Ace Bailey why he was being protected from whatever he was being protected. And I will tell you, this is not off the record, but I won't say who the players are because they didn't say it. They were kind of talking to each other. They weren't trying to say it to the media, but I feel comfortable sharing it, which is that, like, I've heard several Jazz players say what a shame it was how mishandled Ace Bailey's pre-draft process because he is simply the most delightful person. Like, he is the favorite person in the Jazz locker room right now because he's just charismatic and bubbly and funny and optimistic and, like, pretty lovely just as a guy, and all the players like being around him, and they really can't understand how the pre-draft process went as wrong as it did. So, like, had he gone out and shown his personality, which is really fun to be around, he might have overtaken his teammate Dylan Harper for the number 2 overall pick. Like, he may have wowed a team to say, like, wow, we're betting on this person. But because they didn't get to talk to him, they didn't feel confident doing that.
All right, so...
And that's where Darryn Peterson could probably help himself by being like, hey, look, I'm dealing with issues, whatever it is, but I'm being honest with you. But you can trust me because look at this personality. Look at this. Look at who I am as a person. I will get it right. And we know when I'm playing right, I'm as good as anybody in the country.
It's just... you hate to see somebody go through that. And if Darryn Peterson's a good person, and he's trying his best and he's just getting some bad advice, you feel bad for the guy. But, I mean, honestly, just based on the skill set, he's number 1 with a not
bullet.
even close.
Yeah, he probably should be. Yeah. But it will be a question. And you know what? Credit AJ, because you know what AJ does do? Talks.
Yes.
Plays when he has to.
And plays 40 minutes a game.
Answers for it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. The things that AJ can control, he's controlling in his favor, and that's, again, where, he's painting a really good picture for himself because he's flawed. Every player has flawed. They're college kids. But he's really doing a lot of great work. Now, on top of being, maybe the second best player in college basketball this year, by also doing everything right off the court, doing media when he has to. Like, even things like he goes to a lot of Jazz games. Like, I promise you, I know people probably don't think that matters. It matters. Like, you're public, you're forward-facing, you're not hiding from anything, you're a part of the public, you're able to function within a fan base, you're able to do human things. One of the things that Will Hardy kind of revealed, in fact, I think it was actually a Keontae George interview when somebody was interviewing him brought it up, was that Keontae George, the Jazz very famously in their draft workouts, they do the whole workout and then they say, okay, now you do this layup drill. And it's like, you run for 3 minutes and they see how many layups you can make running full court side to side to side to side, and you're making layups. I can't remember exactly what the drill is. And they say, what music do you want to listen to? What do you want to play? Because we think, we want you to feel good. And Keontae George joked and said, I need you to play gospel music because I'm going to need Jesus to get through this. And it wowed Will Hardy so much that, this is a person. Like, he's like, even in this moment, there's some levity there. Like, he can joke around. Like, he can be present with me. like really wowed them as like a well-rounded human being that they were willing to bet on over and over because he wasn't always perfect. Like Keontae was not a great locker room presence for a couple of points during his freshman or his rookie and sophomore year. But I think they bet on the person from some examples that had proven like he's a real guy. There's a real person here. There's not just a weirdo here. And it's really allowed him to break through. So I think those things do help.
So when you look at this offseason coming up for the Utah Jazz, one of the big question marks is Walker Kessler. Mm-hmm. It only takes one GM to set your value. And I think a lot of people are hoping in that 25 to 30 range. I could see somebody exceeding that. What do you think the market bears for Walker?
I do think 25 to 30 is most likely. We will see what type of centers become available because, the free agent market stinks. Well, the free agent market always stinks. It's not a free agent league anymore. Teams have basically got rid of that with protected picks or they trade players before they hit free agency. I should say not protected picks, but player options and team options and restricted contracts. So free agency is mostly dead in the NBA. Not a lot of people have money. The teams that do have money, other than the Lakers, don't need centers. There's a lot of centers in the NBA. So the Lakers could come out and offer Walker a lot. I'm not convinced that the Jazz wouldn't call a team's bluff at a certain number. Like, I know that they are all in, and I will tell you, I was told last summer by people who would know within the Jazz organization, like really high-level people, that they are going to re-sign Walker this summer. And it was always the plan to not give him a contract last year and let him hit restricted free agency, not because they don't want Walker or don't like Walker, but because it just behooved them financially to wait. It gave them more wiggle room. Mm-hmm. And maybe he gets a lower price tag, but really it was more about not having his salary already on the books going into the summer. So while I do think they have every intention to sign him, if someone were to come up and just overpay him by $10 million, let's say it's $35 million, the Jazz might say, oh, okay, good luck. Like, you want him for $35 million? Like, that's, congrats, Lakers. You just hamstrung the future of you and Luka Doncic because you're overpaying the wrong guy by $10 million, which you just simply cannot afford to do in the NBA. The luxury tax and more importantly, the tax aprons are so punitive if you go over them that you can't flush out the rest of your roster. You can't build it out. You can't really, build a complete team, which is what you need to win now. So the Jazz will be smart. I think the Jazz will sign him to a good number. They might even be willing to overpay a couple million versus what they think his real value should be. But if the wrong team offers the wrong money, the Jazz might just say, oh, good luck. That you have made a very bad bed for yourself to sleep in and say we can replace him elsewhere. Do
you think they know what that number is? They have to.
I would think they probably do. Yeah, and that, it might be anything above 35. And I just do not believe somebody's going to offer Walker Kessler $35 million. Yeah. I mean, he averages 14 points and 10 rebounds, and yes, he hit a couple of threes to start the year, but he's not a proven three-point shooter. He's actually not a Rudy Gobert caliber defensive player. He doesn't make free throws. Like, he does a lot of things well. He doesn't do so many things well that you should consider him the second highest paid player on your roster.
If you come back, or if Walker Kessler comes back, and you see that lineup as we project it to be, with Keontae and Ace and Markkanen and Jaren Jackson with Kessler, how much improved just based on length alone is that team defensively?
Oh, man. I mean, you jump from the 30th best team defensively out of 30 for the last two seasons, including this year, to 20th, which doesn't seem like a huge jump, but that's competitive every night.
Yes.
There is the extremes. The Thunder are at the extreme high end, and the Jazz are at the extreme low end. I think sometimes we get a little too excited about the analytic numbers of like the 20th versus the 10th. Like, you're talking about 0.8 points per 100 possessions. You're talking about one free throw per 100 possessions. Like, okay, you make up for that on the offensive end, and you're talking about, the net rating, combining them together. So I do think we get a little overrated there as like, you have to be top 10 in offense and defense, or you might as well not show up for work. It's like, relax. You can still have a way to compete. And then how do you improve from 20 to 15? And then you're talking about maybe an opportunity to win a title. But no, the desire to win and then actually having some length out there is going to be a huge, huge plus. So they'll get better.
Ben Anderson joining us. All right, so just as an NBA fan, what are the storylines you're looking at down the stretch of the season?
I know a lot of fans don't really care because they hate the Lakers, but I'm very fascinated by this car wreck that we're slowly watching.
I don't know
if people realize what a car wreck it is. Like, they have a negative, speaking of net rating, they have been outscored by opponents this season. Now, they are 12 games above 500 because they win a lot of clutch games, but the numbers bear out that in the long run, they are not a good basketball team. And so this could end really ugly. And then I'll be curious what that does for J.J. Redick and, of course, LeBron James and Luka Doncic. That's going to be fascinating. The East, or the Cavs, are able to put together a little bit of a run now that they went out and got James Harden. Like they're in the 4th spot right now, but I think they're only 2 games back of the 2 seed. So how does that finish? Jason Tatum coming back. And then Minnesota's bizarrely bad. Minnesota bizarrely can't close games, and I don't know. We'll see. They might want to shake things up. They were already trying to get Giannis because they don't believe in this group enough. We'll see. We'll see where it goes from there.
By the way, I was talking to somebody close in that Cavs organization, and said Harden is an absolute delight to be around.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, right. And they mentioned that caveat to you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he hasn't gotten his contract, I don't think. So he needs to get his contract. So he's going to be very lovely at the moment.
Yes.
And then once he gets it,
absolute joy to be around. All right. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mitch Harper, kind enough to join us. We'll get to him here in just a few seconds, but right now it's time to hand out some tickets.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits! Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, we've got Jazz tickets. You want to see the Jazz and the Pelicans, as we mentioned, the game on the 28th. We've got tickets. Caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. You win a pair of tickets to that game at Delta Center with a 7:30 start time. If you don't win tickets, don't worry about it. We'll give away another pair coming up next hour at the same time. Mitch Harper, KSLSports.com, BYU Insider, joining us. Mitch, how are you?
Doing great, Scotty. Happy to be on with you as always.
Always good to catch up with you. And again, you can see Mitch up close and in person on our YouTube channel. Just go to KSLSports.com or just go YouTube and search KSL Sports. And he's part of the old Airlink technology, so you can see Mitch and his beautiful smiling face. All right, so Mitch, by the way, how much barbecue did you work down on that trip to Kenny J's last week?
Oh, gosh. So, Kenny, after you had to leave early to catch the flight, for broadcast, Kenny hooked us up. I mean, it was the burn-ins. We started off with that, of course, the ribs, all the sides. It was incredible. I mean, I was the last man standing. I kept going at that thing I had. I was great. I had a ton of food though. I was completely full, as Kenny J always takes care of us.
Awesome. He's the best. Love him, love the family, love the restaurant, Kenny J's. Big thanks to them for hosting our re-rank show at the district in South Jordan. Speaking of which, before we talk about that, how much did you agree with the top 3 or 4 on that bad boy?
I thought we did a great job as a staff. I thought that, people tend to always think that there's some slant or like, oh, we're just trying to, no, like I think we got the right rankings this year. I think that it's always been pretty spot on every single year. I don't think there was anything that people can really argue with. Like, I think Spencer Fano was hands down the number 1 guy. I mean, he's an Outland Trophy winner. You can't argue with that. I think LJ was number 2, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Hard to argue against that. I think it was pretty cut and dry. I mean, I think the state made it a little bit easy. I think where the debate gets interesting is Bear Bachmeier and Devin Dampier. Josh had Devin Dampier higher. I had Bear higher. I think that the fact that he threw for 3,000 yards as a freshman, gets the Big 12 championship game, leads BYU to 12 wins. I mean, he got banged up in some of those games and still played through it and showed in games without LJ that he could win it with his arm. There was a lot to like with Bear Bachmeier. So I put him above Dampier, and I think also the head-to-head too. That was kind of a trump card in a way for some BYU guys if all things were equal in terms of the head-to-head between those two teams. But it was a great year. I mean, the state in general had a lot of great players, and you see that with the Combine coming up this week. And I think, better days ahead for these programs in the state heading into 2026.
All right. Speaking of the Combine, who do you think has a chance to really showcase what they can do and maybe really increase their stock?
I'd say Jack Kelly for BYU, and he's only one of 2 guys that's going to be going through the drills at the combine from BYU, Chase Roberts being the other. I think Jack Kelly, though, he has great speed, and he's got a type of skill set with his burly size that he could really impress and turn some heads. Got a good motor, all the cliche terms you hear at this time of the year with the combine. But I think that Kelly's interesting. And I think that, he's really versatile too, where he could be a guy that can line up off the edge. He could be a middle linebacker. I mean, he can do a lot of different things in a defense, and BYU utilized him that way. And even Jay Hill did when he was at Weber State. So I'd go with Jay Hill. I think Chase Roberts is going to make his way to a 53-man roster, but it wouldn't shock me, though, Scotty, if Chase ended up maybe being an undrafted free agent, but I think it comes sometimes with the wide receivers. It comes down to putting up a great 40 time. Puka Nacua didn't have a great 40 time. He slipped to the 5th round, and maybe that was a better thing because he found a great fit, and maybe that'll be the priority for Chase, is to just get the right fit where you can have an opportunity, and if some maybe injuries happen, it creates that opening. But I think Chase will find a way to an NFL roster. I just don't know with him being an older prospect, a little bit of injuries too. That's where I'm a little bit more bullish on Jack Kelly maybe being a riser coming out of Indianapolis this week.
All right, primary reason we wanted to chat with you, how much, if you're a BYU fan right now, how much is your mind placed a little bit more at ease after that win against Iowa State in the Marriott Center?
I think it's got to be a lot at ease. It feels a little bit now suddenly the same vibes like last year, where BYU's trending up at the right time. They're on the right track. But I will say, if you're going to be devil's advocate here, I don't think Iowa State's the 4th best team in the country. I was honestly surprised that they were a number 1 seed going into Saturday's game from the early bracket reveal. I mean, nothing about that team says number 1 seed to me. I mean, yes, good defense, really good continuity with that group, but the top end talent, I always think of teams that are going to maybe cut down the nets and win a title, maybe having 3 or 4 NBA guys on that team. Jefferson's an NBA guy, maybe Momcilovic, but outside of that, I don't know who the NBA guys are. So from a top end of the roster talent, I think BYU matched up well, and BYU's had Iowa State's number. Kevin Young's 2 wins in his time as BYU's head coach against top 10 opponents have both come against Iowa State. So he kind of has TJ Otzelberger and that crew figured out a little bit. Still, there's tough battles ahead. I would say that Cincinnati game might be the toughest one remaining for BYU on the road next week, especially the way they're playing and their size. They create a lot of issues, and their defense is one of the best. It's been that way the entire year. That could be, a trouble spot for BYU on the road. But I thought it was good for BYU to get that breakthrough against what the committee deems a quad 1A opponent, and they got that. And I think that could give them a chance maybe to get to that 5 seed territory potentially if they start stacking up some more wins.
Boscovich, big in that Iowa State game. How much can he be relied upon down the stretch when BYU's looking for that third guy?
I'm cautiously optimistic that he can be relied on. I mean, he's been so inconsistent during his time at BYU. He'll give moments like he did on Saturday, and then there's other times where he's chucking up some ill-advised shots. You're thinking, what is he doing? What was the thought process behind that? But his length created some challenges for Iowa State that I don't think they were prepared for. Like, he got the early assignment on Joshua Jefferson, a guy that's been viewed as maybe a Big 12 Player of the Year type of prospect. And, Boscovich got that assignment and did a pretty good job. And his size at 6'10", a professional background from his days playing internationally before he arrived at BYU. I think that's why, Kevin Young has turned to him in the starting 5 in relief of Richie Saunders, because his size, his shot-making ability, you got to count for him beyond the arc at all times if you're an opponent. So he creates some interesting challenges, but he's got to be consistent. That's been a big issue for him, because I think he gets so wired to just he thinks that his contributions have to be on the offensive end. Can he just fill a need defensively and get rebounds? Because yes, they need more points in the absence of Richie, but still, I think that can be filled with, I think, Moo Davis potentially, if clearly AJ DeBonson, Rob Wright. But, Mihailo on a night where Rob Wright only gets 6 points, that was a nice contribution from Boscovich to get a career-high 13 points.
I remember that the final year of Sam Merrill at Utah State, they were scratching and clawing to try to get every win they could to bolster the resume so that they could get an at-large bid. Now, eventually, they went on to beat San Diego State in the championship, and if COVID hadn't wrecked things, they would have had the automatic bid. So it wasn't a key looking back in hindsight, but there was a stretch where Sam played 40 minutes every single night, like the last 3 or 4 games of the regular season, every minute in the Mountain West Conference tournament. And you could tell it took a little bit of a toll on him. Now he's a return missionary. He was a little bit older than AJ. If AJ's got to go 40, and I don't anticipate he'll have to do that down the stretch in some of these games, but if you get into the Big 12 tournament and into the NCAA tournament, do you feel comfortable that he can give you those 40 minutes night in and night out if BYU needs it?
Well, that's a great pull on Sam Merrill, by the way. I was like you. I was there courtside in the Thomas and Mack and remember that amazing run that he had against that great San Diego State team that capped that off. And I think tonight, that's a big storyline going into tonight's game against UCF is, create a cushion where you can give AJ, 10 minutes of rest and you cruise to the finish line. BYU is a double-digit favorite in their last 4 games in Big 12 play. They've only won by single digits in all 4 of those games. They've won all the games, but it's been much closer than maybe the prognosticators would have thought. And that's a similar spot tonight where UCF, long road trip in Utah. I think they got their job accomplished getting the split already by winning at Utah over the weekend without their top scorer in Riley Kugel. He's still questionable tonight. And if he doesn't play, it's a great opportunity for BYU to really put the hammer down. And we know predictive metrics like Ken Palm and Torvik love a good beatdown.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe BYU, if you could blow them out and it gives AJ and Rob Wright the luxury to rest, that would be huge because I do feel, Scotty, that if they don't, have a blowout, I mean, AJ's got to play all 40. I think it's so critical that he's always on the floor because the issue right now for BYU is this outside of AJ and Rob, there's just not guys that you can night after night count on. I think Kaba Kadis turning the corner back to the player that we've kind of seen from him in the past since he arrived at BYU, where he's getting you, 6 points, 8 rebounds, and he's a rim protector and he's a rim roller as well. BYU actively looked for him in that last outing against Iowa State. But again, there's just not consistent contributions night after night. Whereas when the chips are down, you're always going to count on AJ, and he's paid a handsome amount. You're going to turn to him. And he even said when I asked him on Saturday, he's willing to do it. And I think that it was fun to kind of hear that commentary too, with all the commentary around Darryn Peterson and his lack of availability. He played 30 minutes last night, but AJ will go the distance if needed, and because he wants to be that number 1 pick, and I think he's looked like every bit the number 1 pick this season, and he's the guy that you just ultimately rely the most on for this BYU team. But games like tonight, where you are a sizable favorite, capitalize on that and give him the opportunity to rest and get ready for a big East Coast road trip coming up this weekend.
Well, I tell you what, though, and I know they're different players, but if I'm number 1, if I've got the number 1 overall pick and I've got those 2 players ranked about the same, I'm going with the guy that's showing a high level of competitiveness at the collegiate level. And I know there's some people out there. I was telling Ben Anderson, I guarantee if I got David Locke on, David would be like, I don't care what the guy does. He can sit out all he wants. All I care about is his skill set and what he does at the NBA level. But that stuff matters to me, and I know it matters to a lot of GMs out there. And if I'm kind of tied between the 2 of them, AJ's getting the nod just simply because he's willing to put it out there.
AJ's been outstanding. I've had the chance to watch Darryn Peterson in person, both at the college level and high school. He played in a tournament at Highland High against AJ, and his shot making, Darryn Peterson, is incredible. I mean, it really is. When the comparisons of like a Kobe Bryant in terms of shot making, I see it, because I mean, the way he dominated against BYU in the first half, you get that over 35 minutes in an NBA game, man, that guy's going to just fill it up every single night. But then, as you hear last night from Darryn Peterson, kind of personality-wise, an introvert, as he kind of put it, like loner a bit, as he put it. AJ DeBonsa, he's been a really good fit in the locker room, which I had a big question about that coming in, because I thought, BYU's never handled a 5-star type of recruit, but as weird as it sounds, he's kind of just felt like a BYU guy, even though he's nothing like what we've grown accustomed to covering BYU basketball over the years, but then also just the willingness to always play. I mean, he's had games where he was sick against TCU. He played. He had a hard fall in that game, and he kind of nicked up his shoulder, still played against Texas Tech with tape on that shoulder. He's always been available, and he still always performs. And he's getting double and triple teams, and he's still getting his and still getting to his spots. And I think the efficiency has still been really impressive, where every night BYU needs him to score 30 points, and he's still playing at a pretty efficient level too. I think AJ is the number one guy. And I thought too, the last outing against Iowa State, where he locks up Milan Momcilovic on the defensive end and goes only 1 of 5, where Milan's probably the best shooter in basketball. That was impressive too, that AJ can also get it done at a high level on the defensive end too.
All right, so I just like to pick your brain on college sports, and you and I spend way more time with college basketball than most people do. I think some people in this market just endure it because they have to, but I love college basketball. I love the NBA. To me, they're two very different sports, but it is what it is. I look at Utah State was playing the other night, and wow, all these games kind of blend together. I've already forgotten who they were playing. But they had to run up the score, and they did run up the score, and they were throwing down dunks late in the game, and it was against Memphis, and Penny Hardaway was a little grumpy about it. And afterwards, Jared Calhoun, I talked to him on the postgame, and he said, "We're not going to apologize for it. If the system says we get rewarded by margin of victory, we are going to take into account margin of victory." And you just mentioned a blowout on the road. Ken Palm loves that stuff. The net loves that stuff. It may not be the classiest thing in the world to do, but really there's no getting around it. You have to do it. You have to play the game if you want your metrics to be where they need to be.
No question. BYU tonight, about a 13-point favorite, give or take. And if you could get that to about 25, you're going to get a nice little boost. I mean, you get a 10-point win over Iowa State over the weekend, and you only move up one spot just because Iowa State was up there in the net ratings and Ken Palm. Yeah, margin of victory is huge when you can hammer teams. And that's been one of the issues for BYU this year, is they haven't really blown out teams. The benefit that they've had this year compared to last, the strength of schedule has been really good. It's top 25 for the first time in 12 years for BYU. They've got a top 25 strength of schedule. So that's helped them, where they've, had a lot of battles, and they've been 6-6 in quad one games this year, but they really have not really put the foot on the gas against a really good team. That Iowa State win was very good, and get it double digits was nice. But if opportunities like tonight against UCF are where you've got to make bank, because, we've seen it with BYU when it comes to the NCAA tournament, it is tricky to place them in the bracket. I think fans sometimes don't realize that the no Sunday piece makes them tricky. They are very challenging, and that could cost them a seed. And you pair that up with Richie Saunders' absence, there's things that you could justify saying, we'll put them at a 7, especially if, they don't take care of business comfortably against teams like UCF or West Virginia. So this would be a nice spot for BYU to just blow them out. And then it also shows too to the committee that this team, without Richie Saunders, they can continue to stack up wins and do it at a high level. UCF's the last game remaining on the schedule at quad 2. The remaining games are quad 1. So this would be a just a nice boost that you can really benefit if you blow them out. So I'm with Jared Calhoun. Like, it's what the system has kind of created, and you got to capitalize on those opportunities when you're in that 5 to 8 range on seed lines. You're trying to climb that seed list and get up as high as you can.
Mitch, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out, and let's do it again here very soon.
You bet, Scotty, anytime.
There he is, Mitch Harper, Cougar Insider, KSLSports.com. Nobody covers BYU athletics better than that guy. Does such a tremendous job. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, what you may have missed coming up next. And then Kurt Helin will join us coming up at 105. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, we all enjoyed the Olympics. The Olympics are now over. I know, it bums us all out. We had a great time watching Team USA bring home the gold in both the men's and the women's. And so it was awesome. We loved every second of it. But now it's time to get back to business. And the Utah Mammoth, after a scorching run to end that, going into the break, they got to keep that momentum going. And the fact that they're opening up this second part of the season after that long layoff against the Colorado Avalanche tonight, I think makes all the difference in the world. I think that is so key that you have a team that you're going up against that, frankly, right now in the NHL is the gold standard of the league. I mean, they are just so significantly good right now. And so you get a chance to go up against that team. You can't have a night off. You can't be, just lackadaisical. You have to come out red hot and have that momentum that you carried into the break because Colorado's not going to let you off the hook. And this is an opportunity, too, as you get some guys healthy, you get guys back into the lineup. There's no honeymoon phase. There's no okay, we're just going to gradually ramp up and get to where we need to be. No. There's none of that. You got to be ready to go tonight because this fan base is riding high after the Olympics. They're feeling good about everything else that's going on right now. And so because of that, they want to see wins and they want to see an opportunity for this team to continue their playoff push. And so tonight in Delta Center, you should see a good one. And, of course, you'll hear all the action right here on the Zone.
Tomorrow night.
Is it? Oh, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I knew that.
It's okay.
Did I say tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. No,
My
I gotcha.
bad. I meant
hey,
tomorrow night.
Do you think we see Keller?
Yeah, I do.
Because there's Cole. I think Cole's saying me and Christian were discussing Cole's thinking that he's going to play, but there's all this travel. It's I think it's important win. There's a lot of teams that are sitting players that are coming back from the Olympics, and I think it's important to get every win is important for the Mammoth.
Every
win is important for the Mammoth.
Yeah, no doubt.
If the Avalanche want to sit some players, fine, take advantage of it. I think the wins are that important for the Mammoth right now. That's how razor thin it is for them. No. And if you get a win, anytime you can get a win against the Avalanche, you got to go for it. And I fully anticipate you're going to see a team fired up tomorrow night. Also, too, I don't think that there's any amount of time where you can just sit back and just be like, okay, let's just ramp up into the second half of the season. No. This team needs to make a playoff push. It's go time.
It's go
all
time.
Those wins are important. Wins, ties, whatever. Every point is important.
Every point matters. No point left behind. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, enough of me yammering. You want to hear from the NBA expert himself. It is Kurt Helin, NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com. Kurt, how are you?
I'm doing well. Still I don't think my 40 time is going to make any notes at the Combine, so I'll just keep covering the NBA and live with it.
Look, you got that 4.4 speed, I'm sure.
4 minutes, 40 seconds. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hey, so look, the tankathon issue, it's kind of in the rearview mirror. The Wizards did what the Jazz did. I assume that nobody cares and nobody's going to find the Wizards for what they did.
Right, exactly.
Did David Stern, or not David Stern, excuse me, did Adam Silver just make his statement and now everybody's like, okay, we're going to move on now and it's a non-story going forward?
Oh, I don't think it's a non-story. They're going to come down. There will be other fines, but I think he's realizing that this year there's not much he can do. And part of that, as we've discussed before, is the historic nature or rare nature of the potential in this draft with three potential, depending on what you think of the, point guard at North Carolina, 3 or 4 potential cornerstone guys at the top. And sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Future all-stars, again, talking to scouts, 9 deep in this draft, maybe 10. So it's a different kind of year, but he's going to come back and, can I be blunt? He's going to tweak it and screw it up worse. So He's going to, he tried to make a statement with you guys, and I love that Rick Carlisle came back and, remember the Pacers got fined like $100K the same day. And he's like, hey, they didn't even talk to us about Nembhard. They didn't talk to our doctors. They didn't talk to anybody. They just, he should have played. And they're like, well, could you have medicated him? I'm like, dude, we're 30 games below 500. We're not pushing some guy out there, like it's a playoff push. So there's some pushback as to how he's handling this internally. And I think he got that from the GMs when he talked to him last week, but they're going to change it next year. And I'm increasingly of the screw this.
Yeah.
Do away with. I'm in the do away with the lottery, not do away with the draft, because you still got to find a. I don't need everybody going to LA, Miami, and New York, right? But
yes.
But I think you lessen tanking, because you're not going to get mid-season pivots where teams are like, well, yeah, but we can get to 7th or 8th worst, and that's going to give us pretty good lottery odds, and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like, no, it is what it is. Maybe put in a rule where you can't do it no top fours two years in a row or something. But man, do it once, because with all due respect to how this year has gone in Utah and how Keyshawn George has stepped up and all this stuff, or Keontae George, sorry, wrong, impressive young George, Keontae George, all that stuff. If the worst record had got the number 1 pick and you picked Cooper Flagg, it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
And a story, right? And so the lottery just prolongs this kind of stuff. Like, if you want bad teams to get good, let them pick high. Some of them are going to blow it. Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so there's just going to be drafts where you think that guy. Sometimes you draft Zion. Like, that should have worked. It didn't. That's life. But I've reached the point where I'm not sure. They're going to flatten the odds again, is my guess. They'll do away with the pick protections that aren't 1 through 4 or lottery, and they'll flatten the odds again, and it'll just prolong this for teams that don't get lucky. Yeah.
Well, and I couldn't agree more. And I think that you'll always have people that will figure out how to game the system. And
there always is. Yeah.
And so, look, you can tweak it all you want, but at the end of the day, somebody's going to figure it out, and somebody's going to make their adjustments. They'll find their loopholes. They'll do whatever, because in the NBA, talent matters so much, and there's such a rarity of that talent in the NBA that once you get that 1 or 2 players that can change the outlook of your franchise. Hey, look, if the Boston Celtics got Tim Duncan instead of San Antonio, Rick Pitino may be a Hall of Fame NBA coach. It's like that's the difference these little things make. And so when you get one, you'll do everything you can to make sure you acquire that franchise altering player.
And let's be clear, I don't think doing away with the draft would end tanking, in the sense that this year, well, again, this year's an anomaly, but let's go back to last year or the year Wemby was in. Teams are going to tank. There would be teams, but there would be a handful of teams from the start of the year that would go, dude, we're going after Flagg, we're going after Wemby. But you wouldn't get the mid-season pivot stuff. You wouldn't get as many teams. You wouldn't have teams this year who are like, yeah, if we can just get to 8 or 9, we'll be okay. You just, that's not going to work for you now. So I don't think, because like you said, because of how much a star player changes the sport or changes your fortune as a franchise, I don't think you're ever going to completely do away with tanking in the NBA, but I think you can lessen it. And I don't think flattening the lottery odds just means you're going to have some franchises. At the end of the day, what Utah has done well and executed in the front office, but done well in a marketing sense, is, look, you're either selling winning or you're selling hope.
Yeah.
And if you take away the ability to sell hope, well, we're going into the lottery and we'll have a 7% chance, or whatever the odds. The more you flatten those odds out, you'll prevent some tanking. All we have to do is be in the bottom 8 or bottom 10 worst, and we've all got the same odds. Great, but it makes it harder for these teams to sell that chance that, hey, we're going to turn this thing around because we're going to get this year we're going to get Devonsa, or we're going to get Boozer, or look, I still want to believe in Peterson. So Peter, whoever you get, like, this guy's going to turn things around. You can still sell that. It's just, you make it harder now.
So I think a lot of us out there believe, especially those that aren't dialed in with the league and aren't talking to GMs, we assume because we see Darryn Peterson and what he's doing, and we think, oh, that's going to tick off a GM. There's going to be GMs out there that'll run away from that. When in reality, they're like, no, we see the talent. We'll figure it out. We're going to be okay. In reality, how much is this hurting him? I mean, realistically, is this really hurting him as the opportunity to go number one overall? Or GM's like, hey, we don't care. We like the talent. We'll get him in here. We'll figure it out.
I've talked to a couple people about this specifically, front office and scouts over the last 2 years, a few days, and the reaction from both was this: he's not right. Like, since he tweaked the hamstring, they're like, just if you line up video of how he looked a year ago and how he looks now, he's not right. And they both were kind of like, where what we would do would depend on what the medicals are with him. Like, we need a medical report from him on him. Is this him being competitive and trying to push through, or is this something that could be more chronic? Is this, because they don't really think it's a will or desire thing. They seem to believe that this isn't him or his agent. Like, no, don't play, because if they would have done that, I think they would have done it. When he hurt his hamstring, you just would have yanked him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just would have ended his season. They want to see the medical. They want to see how much this is holding him back. Is this a case where, and he doesn't play in summer league and he takes the summer, to really get right, and he comes back into camp and he's his old self? What you don't want, to bring up a former first round pick that kind of went sideways, what you don't want is Markelle Fultz, who, he was this guy, and by the time he got to the NBA, he was a different guy. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want to avoid. And so every one of them was just like, no, I still believe in him. I still think he's a good kid. I don't think this is – most of them I don't think that's it. I don't want to speak for everyone, but they were all just like, got to see the medical, got to see the medical.
Kurt Helin, NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com. By the way, back to the Jazz a little bit. So they're like, okay, you want us to tank the old-fashioned way? Hey, Nurk, how's your nose feeling?
Exactly.
It's a little banged up. All right, well, let's shut you down. Let's get some surgery on that noggin of yours and figure it out. It just like, okay, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
If that's the way you want us to do it, we'll do it.
Exactly. That is exactly what it felt like. And I don't know if Nurkic needed a nose job. I'm not a plastic surgeon, but I think that's very much the attitude. Like, if that's how you want to do. And by the way, other teams took note of this. Like, oh, is that how we're going to do this? Okay, fine. Then that's how we're going to do this. We'll sit guys or take guys out, and we'll find, hey, Trae Young's going to take a long time to come. Hey, maybe he'll be able to come back from this injury and stuff. But I think in Washington, it's going to be that way. Like, you're not really going to see Davis or Young on the floor, and if they are not together, not for very long, it's just trying to avoid David Stern's wrath, basically. But again, I think Brian Windhorst said this in one of his 85 podcasts we were on air or something the other day, where he said, "Hey, some GM told him he thought the number one pick in this draft was worth $100 million. So it's a $500,000 fine.
Yeah, you live with
price
that.
of doing business.
Yeah.
It's price of doing business."
All right, so the Lakers are 12 games over 500, 34-22, but have a negative scoring differential. Ben Anderson, our NBA guru, pointed that out earlier in the show. Are the Lakers just a house of cards right now?
A little bit, yeah. What's propped that up is that they are. I forget the exact number now. I know that if you're up three point games within 3 points in the last 3 minutes, they're 6-0, and they have the best clutch record in the NBA. They were undefeated in the clutch. I don't think that's the case anymore, but it's pretty close to it. And part of that is Luke and LeBron are really good, man.
Yeah.
In crunch time, I would like to have them on my team, but I think they've just been lucky. And I think the recent losses to two games I was at, but Oklahoma City and then Celtics on Sunday were just reminders that this team doesn't have enough shooting. It's not good defensively. It doesn't have that much depth. And if you go up against teams that can exploit that, they don't look right. And they're a good team. They could theoretically get a matchup maybe especially if somebody's not healthy, that gets them to the second round of the playoffs. Because again, Luka's going to be great in the playoffs. I guarantee you, he's going to win them a game or two in the postseason just because he's that good. But I don't think they have enough to do anything. They are a house of cards in the sense that I don't think they're a bad team, but they're poorly designed, or they're poorly built to take advantage of Luka's real strengths. And so this is what you get. You get this kind of good team that's, not really as good as they look record-wise and are probably doomed in the first round.
I can't remember if it was you who mentioned the possibility of this or somebody else, that there's kind of a vibe around the league that LeBron finishes it next year in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's funny. Probably me, because I've been saying that. It might have been someone else, but
okay.
And I had that conversation with a league executive, somebody from another team this week, and everybody thinks he's going to Cleveland. And the only question really is the money and how they make it work, because Cleveland's over the second apron. They can get under and use a mid-level, but how much money is LeBron willing? It basically comes down to how much money is LeBron willing to give up, and what moves would they have to make to sign and trade for him? It's a little bit tricky if he wants to get paid $25 or $30 million. It becomes challenging because now you got to send somebody out. But at the end of the day, I would be surprised if it doesn't happen. I'd be very surprised if he's back with the Lakers. And in fact, I think retirement is more likely than him returning to the Lakers. But a farewell tour in Cleveland seems likely, and especially if this is a team that doesn't reach the finals. And they're like, man, we just need – because they've got the band together for one more year. And they're like, hey, we can bring in LeBron, and he can be the glue and the guy who – they can see him as the locker room guy / third, fourth best player with all this playoff experience who can put them over the top.
Do you look at Detroit a little bit like maybe the Jazz a few years ago when they were the number one seed in the West? They had the best record, but it didn't feel like it was really going to translate in the playoffs. And sure enough, they got bounced by the Clippers in the second round. Do you get that vibe with Detroit, or are they? Do you look at them as actual title contenders?
Because they're in the East, they have a legitimate chance to make the finals. And that said, you just nailed it. They are that team. They are the 22 Grizzlies. Maybe the Hawks from the Budenholzer era when they won 60-something, where you're like, I'm just not sold that this team is as good as you think. And we saw it last night. If you can load up on Cade and have him shoot 5 for 26, and by the way, I think Victor Wembanyama had some of the most insane blocks
my
in that game.
Yeah.
That was just there was one floater where that goes over and in off anyone else. There's one guy on the planet who can block it. And he just happened to be the guy. If anybody wants to know why he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year if he qualifies, go watch the tape.
Yes.
I just think that exposed the lack of a secondary playmaker and the lack of shooting got exposed in that game. And the problem is he was doing it at the end. All right, we've got to play every guy who can vaguely hit a shot. Well, that means putting Duncan Robinson out there. You're going to put Duncan Robinson out in a playoff series? I'm going at him every time down the court. I think that they're going to have to find a way to tweak that roster and get more shooting in the offseason. I think they're close. And I think, by the way, they can bully their way to every Boston, Cleveland, New York are all flawed. And you could convince me that the Pistons are the best of them, but I still think whoever comes out of the West, whether it's probably Oklahoma City, but if it's the Spurs, if it's a healthy Denver team, it's Detroit's not lasting long against any of them. It's a 5-game series.
All right. On one day, one time, the NBA All-Star Game felt like it got it right. Was this just a one-off and we got lucky for 1 year, or do you think that maybe they've stumbled into something here?
They got player buy-in, and I'm not convinced we're going to get that every year. Yeah. I would like to think that we would. I'm sorry, I work for NBC. I have no doubt that next year it's going to be a fantastic. No, I'm not convinced. I will say the one thing I thought worked, and I know people in the league thought this, because there are higher up people in NBC talking to them about this than me, but people I talked with were saying the same thing, which is more than, and I think I said this last week, more than USA versus World, it was one-quarter games.
Yes.
That put a real like, all right, you got to win this. You got 12 minutes. That put a different kind of energy into it. And I think however they divide the All-Stars up next year, young versus old, USA World, whatever gimmick we're going to use to divide them up, if you keep the one-quarter game thing, I think you can make it work. I think that gives it the best chance for having that kind of energy. But you still need Victor Wembanyama and Anthony Edwards in the first game to kind of go at each other and raise the level for the whole event.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like Victor coming in and saying, "Nuh-uh, I'm taking this serious." I think high tide lifts all boats in that thing. I think everybody kind of fed off of that.
Exactly, and Ant credited Wemby after wins the MVP and then instantly credits Wemby for raising the bar. Is that going to happen next year? Giannis has talked about doing it, but he really hasn't every year. And I don't think we can count on Luka Doncic to do it.
No.
I would like to think we're going to get more of that every year because I think that they found a good balance of the kind of thing the NFL can't do, which is you can actually play a not very physical basketball game and still have some defense and still have entertainment, right? Like it doesn't have to look like last night between the Spurs and the Pistons for it to be good defense or good enough defense and to make it interesting. They found a good balance with that this year. And we'll see if they can do it again next year. And honestly, it's what hurts the NFL because I don't want to watch the Pro Bowl where nobody's trying to get hurt, right?
Yeah.
Where you take the physicality out of the NFL or out of football in general, and it's it might as well be playing flag. It's not the same.
When do you think is a realistic expectation? Because we all know it's going to happen, and we know the cities. It's going to be Las Vegas and Seattle. When do you think that happens, when those two teams actually start playing? I think the ball really gets rolling by the end. Like, hey, we're going to do this by the end of the year. Let's see, it's 26. Let's say 29, 30, somewhere around there. All right.
Because Seattle has the arena. They would move into the Climate Pledge, I believe it's called, which I've heard good things about. I have not been there. Well, I've been there when it was Key, but they completely wholly redid it. But I hear that's in good shape. While T-Mobile exists in Las Vegas, the sense is that whoever the new owners are going to use that as an anchor for a new casino resort complex somewhere along the strip type of thing.
For
so
sure.
They would have to build a new arena. So if they're building a new arena, you're talking 3 years or whatever. So maybe a slightly longer runway. We'll see.
But it's Vegas and Seattle, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Seattle is a lock. Vegas is 95%. I've heard some rumblings that somebody might try to get in, and some billionaire could try to come in, poach them, and put them somewhere else. But I'm not even sure where that is. San Jose or Louisville or something. I'm not sure what that is.
Mm. Well, Kurt,
and the other one,
yeah.
I'll tell you, the other one you hear is, I'll just tell it up there. The idea of Memphis staying in market but moving to Nashville is not out of the question.
Oh, interesting.
I'm just saying that rumor is out there.
How stable is Minnesota?
They just got new ownership. They're good.
Okay.
And they're getting all this work. They're going to get work done at the Target Center and all this. So they're stable for right now. New Orleans is the other one everybody kind of watches, but until that team is sold, which is not going to happen until there is a change of ownership, or actually put this. She plans on holding on to that thing until she passes and then selling it. And when Gail Benson passes, that we'll see what happens. But for now, it's not going anywhere, despite that being easily the worst arena in the league.
Oh, yeah, by a mile. Hey, Kurt, you're the best, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for doing it. And we'll talk again next week.
I look forward to it, man. Take care, Scotty.
You got it. Kurt Helin, NBC Sports, ProBasketballTalk.com, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Love Kurt. Love info. Plan on your expansion teams coming here pretty soon. Seattle for sure. Vegas, I think, is for sure as well. I mean, Kurt said 95%. I think that's a lock that they're both going to end up there. And then they'll shuffle the deck a little bit in terms of who's in the East, who's in the West. That Nashville thing, I heard that a while ago, but I didn't necessarily believe it had a lot of legs to it. But if Kurt says there is, then that could be. moving from Memphis to Nashville, right here on the Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, your bad, and your ugly. Before we get to the good, though, let's give away some tickets.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now. Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the three. Hey, hands, oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. You want those tickets? All you have to do is be caller number 12 right now, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Jazz and New Orleans coming up on the 28th. But again, just be 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. And if you don't win, that's cool. Guess what? We'll give away another pair next hour. And then after that, another pair. And then another pair. We just got you squared away. All right. Good, the bad, the ugly. Let's start with the good. The Salt Lake Bees. Now, look, there's some people that realize, okay, you know what? We live in kind of a funky world here in Utah. We got every place has their uniqueness, right? Every place has their little their little tweaks and their little, okay, everybody's a little weird. All right, so Utah, no different. We've got our things that people look at and be like, I don't know about that. And then some people say, you know what? We're going to lean into it. And that's what the Salt Lake Bees are doing. I like this. I think they're going to sell a ton of merchandise on this. I think it's a smart move. Ty Wardle, president of the Salt Lake Bees, I'm a big fan of his. I've known him for a while now. And they introduced yesterday for this upcoming season, every Wednesday at the ballpark, the Salt Lake Bees will no longer be the Salt Lake Bees. They will be the Salt Lake Dirty Sodas. That's right. The Utah Dirty Soda. It's an alternate identity for the Bees. It'll blend Utah's iconic dirty soda culture with America's pastime. They've got cream-colored jerseys, a new Dirty Soda logo on the red sleeves, the team's name written across the front in a, here's their words, fizzy and bubbly brown font. And so they will transform into the Utah Dirty Sodas every Wednesday home game throughout the season. And, of course, you got your good friends over at Swig that will team up with them and offer that at the ballpark as well, which I'm sure is always available. So the Utah Dirty Sodas every Wednesday. I like it. I don't hate it.
I love it.
Lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like one of the things we're known for is these dirty sodas. Some advertising with them. That's a great partnership right there.
I think it's spot on. And you know what? Ty, if you're listening, I will proudly rock a Dirty Soda hat. We will proudly rock Dirty Soda jerseys on this show.
Yeah, I am going to be repping one here very soon because the logo is awesome.
I know, the logo is great.
Yeah, the logo is great. I think they knocked this out of the park. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
And Lloyd, to his credit, he brought it up to me, and I'm like, I don't know about this. And then he goes, no,
this
check
one
it out.
works.
Check it out. And I did.
That's
I'm like,
what AAA's, by the way, AAA's all about.
Yes.
That's it's having fun with the fans and doing these types of things and having these nights. I mean, the Bees, they knock it out of the park with their nights, whether it's May the 4th games or whatever. Like all these things they do a really good job. And this doing something like leaning into something that's a part of Utah, the Dirty Sodas. I mean, I think it's brilliant.
Are you a fan of these, by the way?
Yeah.
All right, give me your mix. What are you going with?
Yeah, well, I just like the Dirty Dr. Pepper, to be honest with you.
All right, so a little coconut in your
Dr.
a little
Pepper. Coconut, yeah. So much so that, I got a little crazy and was making my own, and I had to cut that off a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I was starting to feel it.
You can get the sugar-free syrups, and you can get the Diet Dr. Pepper.
Sugar-free sucks. Let's be honest.
Dude.
There's nothing good about sugar-free.
I'm rocking a sugar-free Rockstar right now.
Yeah, I know.
And they're awesome.
And you don't really like it, though, all that much.
I can't remember the last time I had a fully leaded soda. Like, I'm always
And I'm
Coke
sure
Zero.
you probably have gotten used to it, but I can't get past the non-sugar. I can't. I really struggle with it. So I have to limit it a little bit.
All right. I will go. My wife's a big fan, and I've got her order memorized because if I'm in the area, I'll get her a drink. And then they're like, well, what would you like? And I'm like, you know what? Just give me a 44-ounce Coke Zero. And I always say put enough sugar-free vanilla in there that it won't get you in trouble, but just load it up.
Load it up.
I love the vanilla.
Do you like the lime with it?
No.
I like the lime.
Yeah, I can't handle lime.
I like a little squeeze of lime in there.
In fact, my wife, when we go to a restaurant, I'll say Coke Zero with a lime, but I don't want that lime anywhere near my soda. She will take it off because she likes the double lime, so she'll take the lime and use it, but I don't know. I can't handle lime.
How you guys work this. This is great.
That's what marriage is about.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's look, for all you kids out there, find somebody who's going to match up with what you don't like, they like, and vice versa. You'll be in a good spot. But yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. We're a unique state. We're a unique people. We get that. So what? Let's lean into it. Let's have some fun. But yeah, the Utah Dirty Sodas every Wednesday at home at the ballpark. I'm excited. I love, and to your point, Lloyd, like, the Bees know who they are. And I think that's really important for people to understand that you go to a AAA baseball team, you're going for the experience. You want to go on a July afternoon or a July evening with your family. You want to eat some nachos, some hot dogs, some loaded nachos, some food that you would never consume on your own, some outlandish combination of food, and you just want to sit back and just have a good time. And, I mean, frankly, do you really care about wins or losses that much? No. You just want to have a good experience.
The experience is what it's all about. Like, don't get me wrong, like, a professional, and I'm talking like maybe going to a Giants game. It's really cool, but you're never going to be as involved as you are at a game like at the Bees. Like, the family is involved in it.
Yeah.
It's great.
And the kids love it. Everybody has a good time. If you have not been out to the new ballpark, highly, highly recommend it. They've done a tremendous job out there. All right. And by the way, everybody thinks it's way out there. It's not that hard to get to. Come on. Don't be a baby. It's fine. You're just fine. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. There is your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
This one broke my heart a little bit because here's you got a guy that's busting his butt doing everything he can to try to get an opportunity because the Jazz, who they are right now, they will give plenty of opportunities to guys like Vince Williams. But he has been diagnosed with a torn ACL. Williams suffered that injury in a collision with Tari Eason last night. So unfortunate news for him. His season is now done. The Jazz will now be fined $500,000 for having a player suffer a torn ACL. No, I'm joking. But your heart just breaks for a guy like that. This is golden opportunities for these guys to be able to showcase their skills. And he gets to have tape. He gets opportunities. He gets minutes in the NBA. And unfortunately, that goes away now because of a torn ACL in a play that was not the cleanest in the world either.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. What'd you think of the play?
I thought it was a little dirty. Like,
the guy
I don't
was
think
already at the basket. There was no reason to have to block him or make contact whatsoever.
Puts that
it was dirty.
Extends that left arm. Yeah, I don't like anything about that.
No, I didn't either. And seeing that video, it's one of those videos where you see it once, you're like, okay, I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah, nope. And when you saw it, you immediately knew what it was.
Absolutely, it looked nasty, and that was just he was nowhere near the ball. He's just putting a little hustle to get down there. Like, you don't need to do that.
No. All right, coming up next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We will have Bill Armstrong in about 12 minutes from right now. Yes, Bill Armstrong back. NHL is back. It is the Mammoth. It is the Avalanche coming up tomorrow night at Delta Center. Cannot get here soon enough. We'll talk about that with him coming up in about 10 minutes from right now. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Now Jack Hughes puts it around the car. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold.
Oh, we may talk about that game with the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, man. you couldn't have scripted a better game for that than what we saw. And honestly, as a guy that just enjoys hockey, take the national pride out of that, whether you're Canadian or United States, and just focus in on the game. That was just a fantastic game on its own.
Well, it's interesting watching the game because you've got some elite players, and sometimes they would just look average in the game,
Yeah.
And the game was just moving at a speed I've never seen before. It was definitely played at a different level that day, and it was a beautiful thing. And it's great for the sport of hockey to see two countries like that go at it and play at that level. And it had to end some way, and the U.S. did a great job. And I'll tell you what, it's going to grow the game of hockey, not only in the state of Utah, but in this great country. It's going to blow it up, and it's a great thing. And I just thought about all the people that walked in for the first time, to a Mammoth game and fell in love with hockey. Then they got to see, the U.S. win the Olympic gold. It's a special thing, and there's definitely a fever. You can feel it around here about hockey.
Well, and that's the thing, too. We talk about the generational build, and there's a lot of guys like myself that had a kid you're watching that game with and goes, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. And in the past, there was never really an avenue for a kid in Utah who would watch a game and be like, I want to do that. But now with a lot of the initiatives that the Mammoth have come up with, that new facility, we can find ways to get kids on the ice.
Yeah, I was just here at our facility, and there's a big tub in the back, and it's got all the sticks cut for the kids to come in and play.
Nice,
stick and puck. It's just a great thing, and it's I'm so excited to kind of help this new era of getting kids to play hockey in Utah. And you're going to see, we're going to be 10, 15 years out from today, and you're going to see great young players coming out of Utah, great hockey players playing somewhere in the United States and Canada. So it's definitely going to grow the game. And I think Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith just did an incredible job at bringing hockey to Utah.
Okay, one of the big lightning topics after this game was 3-on-3. Where do you stand on that to finish a game in overtime?
Well, they got to have the Olympic ceremonies at some point. And that's usually the last game, so they got to get it over with. And 3-on-3 usually does that pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's completely fair, to be honest with you. But it is the way it is. And it's certainly exciting. And I think it ends games, and that's what 3-on-3 does. And it ended pretty quick.
My older brother is a dentist up in Idaho, and he said if you can find a way to message Hughes and let him know that I'd be willing to fix those front teeth for free, happy to do whatever. But when a guy takes a stick like that and gets knocked around and still goes back on the ice and gets the winner, it just shows you just how tough these guys really are.
It is, and it's a part of hockey. And I think there's a pride as a hockey player that you take a stick in the face or a puck, and you get cut in your face, and it's just. It's the right passage that you have to go through to be a hockey player. You got to have some toughness, and I think people like that about hockey.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing. Is that they'll go down and block a puck that's solid, massive rubber coming at you, 100 miles an hour. It's certainly you gotta have some toughness to play the game, and it's a great thing. And I think when people watch the sport of hockey, they value that there's effort and there's toughness in the game. And I think it really came out in the Olympics, with some people losing some teeth. So it's a good thing.
Considering the discrepancy in shots on goals, how impressed were you with the goaltending in that game for Team USA?
Oh, Hellebuyck was incredible for USA. He was a brick wall there, and he was a man on a mission. And at the end of the game, Canada played parts of the game where they put it on the U.S., and the U.S. played well in the sense that they knew they had a great goaltender that could make the save, and they just waited out for an opportunity, and they did that, and they capitalized. So I think it was a great game plan from the U.S., and I think their goaltender was absolutely spectacular.
All right, well, little time to celebrate. You're back at it. You got the Avalanche coming in. It's a 3-game homestand. Is there any concern that you have whatsoever about guys coming back in and picking up that momentum that you left off going into this long break?
It's a big concern, concern I don't sleep at night, thinking about, hey, are we going to get back to that level of urgency, back to that level mindset that we had before we left for the break. So it's certainly a mindset that you got to have, that killer instinct that you're going to go in there and get the points. And listen, at the end of the day, we think that 94 points gets you into the playoffs. So I think it's doable for us. I think we've got to find ways at home to get at least 19 points and go 500 on the road and drive ourselves into the playoffs. So I think for us, it's really getting that mindset to come back and go out there and fight for every single point for the next 25 games and find a way into the playoffs.
When you look at the Olympics and you look at, the fact that the Mammoth are even here in Utah, and then you throw in the Four Nations last year, throw in the Olympics, and then a potential playoff run, just how much does that affect this growing hockey community here in Utah?
Well, it does. I think when people first showed up and watched us play, they were like, everybody had a surprised look on their face, like, wow, they're not a bad team, and then expectations over time have grown in a good way, and it's a good thing. And they're like, hey, we can see the playoffs. We want this team to get in. That would be an incredible journey for this club to go down. And so we talked when I first came in, and we want to play meaningful games. And now we're in the point where we want to play meaningful games, but we want to win. We want to get into the playoffs, and we've talked about it from the opening interview I've done this season to right now, and now we're in a position to push to get in, and so it's an exciting time for the club, and it's there's pressure, but that's a good thing. We want to have that, Pressure is a privilege, and you got to earn that right to go through the season and to get in the playoffs. So we're right where we want to be. Now we got to drive ourselves in. Probably
over the last few weeks, when you're filling up the vehicle at a gas station or you're at a grocery store, whatever the case is, there's probably two things people have asked you. Number one, what do you think about Team USA? And then number two, Logan Cooley, Kerfoot, are they back? So I'll ask you the same. Are we close on those two guys?
Yeah, we're close on Logan Cooley. He's got a chance to play, and so does Kerf. So those are two great players that we've got a chance to add into our lineup right from the get-go. So right now it looks like it's on track. We'll see how it trends tomorrow, but we get a chance to have both those guys back in the lineup.
We talk about pregame, availability, and it'll be a game-time decision. When is your kind of point of no return on whether or not a guy's going to go? Will it be right up until near the start of the game, or will it be earlier in the day? When do you get a good vibe like, okay, we're good to go here?
Yeah, well, normally it's during, pregame skate that you have during the day. But you never know, and we're in a situation where we're coming back and guys are injured. I usually like to, look down and see warm up and see everybody healthy out and warm up and everybody's made it. And, that's when I usually say, okay, he's going to play tonight. So that's how I go about it. But, I'm a little bit different, but usually after the pregame skate's usually a good indication.
One thing I know, I'm going to ask you one more Olympic question, then I promise we'll put it to bed. But
all right.
When you've got a guy out there and when you played the game and it's a tense moment and, Team USA has got that 4-minute penalty opportunity, and then you get the high stick on Hughes, and all of a sudden that advantage goes away, and then you're disadvantaged for a minute. What's the feeling like when you're sitting in a box thinking, I may have just cost our team a gold medal? Like, I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. Like, I remember back in my day, I was playing for a national championship in Canada, and I took a penalty. And I just remember saying to the guys, because, we had to go in between periods, and I just said, if you guys kill this, man, I will buy dinner for everybody in this room. I will buy drinks. I will do whatever it takes, The seconds go by like hours when you're in there thinking that you could have cost your team a championship. It's certainly a long time, and you don't want to be the bad guy that cost your franchise and your team a championship.
All right, you got the Avalanche right out of the gate. That wakes you up pretty quickly. There's no ramp up when you're playing the Avalanche. You got to be ready to go right out of the gate.
Well, absolutely. The best team in hockey's coming to play, and we can't wait. This is a great opportunity to prove how good we are. So, we don't we respect them. They're a great team. I don't think we like them a lot, but it's going to be a battle right through the get-go. So let's get back at it, and let's get off and play the best team in the National Hockey League.
I love it. Let's go. Hey, Bill, we appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Bill Armstrong, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, one of the best dudes out there. We can't thank him enough. And I hope people understand how rare that is to have a general manager that's willing in any professional sport to come on a radio show once a week and talk about his team and ask and answer dumb questions. He's just phenomenal. It's really, really rare to see that. And we can't thank him enough for being kind and gracious enough with his time to be willing to do that. All right, so Avalanche coming up tomorrow. Cannot wait to see exactly where this team is at. Because, frankly, if you were to give some truth serum to Bill and, Coach Tierney and the rest of this team, they're like, we did not want to go on break. We did not want to have an extended amount of time off because that team was rolling. And they were one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the NHL. And then all of a sudden, it's like you hit the brakes on it. And you wait 3 weeks. And then you bring everybody back. And at that point, you're like, okay, guys, that momentum we had, keep it going. Let's go. And it's just really hard to reignite that after this time off because some guys were working their tail off in the Olympics. Some guys were sitting on an island somewhere. Some guy was back at home eating mama's cooking. Like, there's a lot of guys who are in different situations, and now you have to reignite that kind of momentum that you had going into that break. Now, usually your all-star break, 4 or 5 days. The Four Nations was a little different. That was a little bit longer. But, frankly, this is not common. When you have that Olympic break for nearly 3 weeks, and now you've got to ramp up and you've got to be back where you were at. And it's going to be difficult. And then you throw in the fact that, and Lloyd, I don't know if you caught this, but it sounds like Logan Cooley's back. I mean, he didn't say it, but he kind of said it.
Yes.
And so you have to not only try to capture that momentum you had going into the break, then you also have to work in guys that, hey, frankly, they deserve to be in the lineup. There's no ramping in. There's none of that nonsense. You're like, okay, Cooley, go. Kerfoot, go. Like there's no element of let's just gradually try to dip our toe back in the water. These are two of your better players, especially Cooley. You throw them in the mix and say, let's go. And that's what it's all about with this Utah Mammoth team. Frankly, I think they keep it rolling. I would love nothing more than to see this team find a way to put it on the Avalanche tomorrow, get a W, get a point in that game. Whatever it takes, come away with a positive outcome, whether it's a point, whether it's 2, whatever the case is, you come away with a point against the Avalanche, and that signifies to your team you're still where you need to be. You still have that momentum. You're in great shape. You lose, and you're thinking, okay, what do we got to do to get right again? What do we got to do to capture that magic? And then guys start pressing, and you feel out of sorts. So that's what's so big about this game. And frankly, I love the fact that they're playing the Avalanche out of the gate. If you're playing a team that wasn't particularly good, and you had to try to mentally be ready, sometimes it's not that easy to do. I remember, I think it was Quinn Snyder who was talking about his team coming back off of a long road trip. And the old adage in sports, whether it's baseball, hockey, whatever the case is, the first game at home after a long road trip, you don't usually play well. That's usually a game that sometimes gets circled as a loss because you just aren't ready to go after a long road trip and then playing at home for the first time. But I remember Quinn Snyder saying, and at that point they were playing the Cavaliers. Long road trip, couple days off, and then you played at home against, and LeBron was on the Cavs at that time, and he said, I love the fact that we're playing LeBron and the Cavaliers in our first game back after a long road trip because mentally we have to be in a good place. We can't just show up and think that we're going to be okay. And the Jazz at that point, I mean, this was a team that was, thought of as being, a potential Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals team. Obviously, they didn't make it, but we're talking about Gobert and Donovan Mitchell years. So that was a good team. And they said, essentially, we needed the Cavaliers to be that first game coming out of the break because that allowed us to mentally be right. And I think the same thing applies to the Utah Mammoth here. When you've got the Avalanche, you have to be ready to go or you're going to get embarrassed. And this team, I don't think is in a place where they need to be embarrassed. Come on. This is a good team here. Act like it. You're a playoff team. Act like it. That means the Avalanche show up. You may not win that game, but you punch them in the mouth. Maybe literally and figuratively.
Let them know you're here. Let them know you're here.
So, by the way, my brother did. I sent him a picture of Jack Hughes, and I said, like, how much work are we looking at here? And he goes, that's significant work. Now, there's a lot of work that's going to go on to give him those front teeth back. And he said, but look, for a little social media post, send him my way. I got it squared away.
You get it taken care of.
Yeah. So my brother, who's got himself a fine practice up in Burley Rupert area, Idaho, would be more than happy to be the official dental provider of Team USA. I think we can make that work.
Let me ask you this, Scotty, because we were actually having this debate in the bullpen earlier, and I think it's probably the Jack Hughes one. What is your most? And it probably is Jack Hughes. This is probably a non-question, but okay, the Jack Hughes photo with the American flag draped over him, missing tooth, missing teeth, or the like. Say you own and you only get to have one. You own a sports bar, and you're like, I want to put all these an iconic photo up. Is it that? Are you putting that one?
No, it's the one where the overhead shot of the save.
That's what I said.
That's what I go with, yeah.
And everybody else was saying the American Jack Hughes, and I'm like, I get that one's really good. I understand the blood. I love it. But that overhead of the Hellebuck save is so great.
No, that's
got to be in every sports bar, whatever. Your sports room that you have at your house. You're a big hockey fan. That's what's up in your room.
Hey, I'm not even a big
American flag helmet, up above. It's so good.
I'm not I'm learning hockey. I love hockey, but I am not a lifetime hockey fan. All right, this is something that I've had to learn over the last couple of years. Like most people here, I grew up. We didn't have hockey available. I've never put skates on. I've never actually been on ice as a skater. So that's because it's not because I didn't want to. It just wasn't available for the first, 35, 40 years of my life. And so I don't have that background with hockey. So I'm not necessarily decking out my home office with hockey memorabilia or hockey pictures. You can guarantee that picture will be blown up and framed in my office because I think that is one of the most iconic photos in sports history. You got that one with Muhammad Ali standing over the guy with mid swing.
We've seen that picture of the American flag draped over somebody, and we've seen that. But that one was just. I'm glad you said it because some people looked at me like I had a third arm growing out of me. I was like, really? I was like, I feel like that's it. It's like, no. That is it.
That is 1,000% it. It's a great question to have, but honestly, I get the broken teeth and the flag and rah, rah, go America. I'm all about it. I'm patriotic as the next guy. But I also think when you talk about an individual play that had no business being made by that guy and to be able to go and have Jay Stevens break it down and the amount of strength to have that stick behind you and still be able to ward off the momentum of that puck, that to me is what that gold medal game was all about. That view of that was just like, okay, that sums up the entire game because Canada was taking shot after shot after shot. Bill Armstrong's mentioning is like, there was good stretches where Canada was putting it on us. And the goaltending was there to be like, you know what? I got you guys. You can take some chances because it's like back in the day when Quinn Snyder would funnel everything to Rudy Gobert. Rudy's like, let's go. They may get one or two on me, but I'm going to block more than they're going to get on me. And that was the case in this game. I mean, he was absolutely the star of the show. He should have been. I meant to ask Bill about that too, if he agreed with the MVP going to McDavid instead of Hellebuck. Because honestly, if you're looking at a player that actually won the gold medal for his team, there you go. You can't give it to McDavid.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you on that. I thought it was definitely Hellebuck. What he did in between the pipes was spectacular.
All right. So let me guess. Jake Hatch wanted the American flag picture in the debate.
No.
Was it Maddie?
I think Maddie was on that, and so was oh my God,
a good majority of the people in there.
A good majority of the people. Yes.
All right.
Good majority.
We got a lot of people running through there.
Good majority of the people.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All
Absolutely.
Right. But no, I look forward to finding that picture somewhere on the internet, blowing that sucker up, and framing that, because to me that's what sports is all about. I mean, the individual performance at the highest level, and the one play you have to make. Now, granted,
that was the play of that was of the Olympics in general.
That was it, right there.
It really was.
Yep, that sums up the entire Olympics, because that's a guy that there was, and Jay Stevens, I thought, really broke it down well. Not only the strength, but there's also an element of, oh bleep, I'm just going to have to put my arm back there with that stick and just pray that I'm able to deflect that thing away. I mean, there was a lot of skill, a lot of strength, and then also a little bit of like, all right, I got beat, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try. I don't know how it's going to go, but let's just hold on for dear life and pray that I'm able to get some contact on this thing and deflect it away. And sure enough, he did it. He needed the strength, he needed the skill, and he needed the training. And let's not overlook the fact that sports comes down to a little bit of luck as well. And that's exactly what happened. That sums all of it up in one play. Yeah, that's your signature moment. That's your photo moment. And whoever got that photo, that dude needs to win, Pulitzer. I don't know. What do they hand out for pictures? Whatever award. Whoever got that one, and it probably wasn't even somebody. It was probably just a still camera with a shot down there.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what got it.
Okay.
I would like to
love
to think that somebody was hanging over there.
Hey, you know what?
But hey,
the Olympics, they got. I mean, I was watching guys in warm-ups with, that had a camera on them that was weaving through pregame skate. I'm like, dude, these guys, you make one wrong move and they're going to blindside you. You're done. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends. Nice. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, Lloyd, where is attending spring training on your, bucket list? I mean, obviously, it's not a huge event. It's not like going to the Masters or something like that, but
it is up there.
How appealing is it to be able to spend a few days down in Florida or Arizona and just watch games?
It is something I have never done, and no, it's not up there with the Masters, as you said, but I would say it's up there because you just get to watch a lot of baseball in a short amount of time. Like, it's just all day baseball. I think I would say it's pretty high up on
quality baseball, though.
Good baseball, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
Is it like you're watching preseason NFL?
It's the it's more. I think you actually get all the players, because obviously it's not the physicality that you see in the NFL. So you are getting guys, and you have getting guys that are trying for roster spots as well. And I think it's spectacular baseball that's being played.
All right.
Yeah, it's up there. And I know our guy PK, he does it all the time.
Well, I think that's where PK is at right now, right?
I think so.
Yeah. One of his many vacations.
Many vacations. So many.
By the way, I'm going to catch a plane after this show, head right on over to the airport, and Utah State will take on, speaking of warm weather, we'll be in San Diego tomorrow.
That sucks. That sounds terrible.
I know, doesn't it?
Gosh.
Hey, look, I'm due. I've been to Laramie.
Life is rough.
I've been to Laramie. I've been to Fresno. I've been to Reno.
Wait, are you saying putting Fresno in there like that's a horrible place? It's not that bad.
No, Fresno. You know what? My power rankings of Mountain West Conference cities, San Diego's number one.
Not if you just put Fresno with Wyoming.
Okay, well,
are we talking about the people? Is that what you're saying? Okay, I'm just wondering.
All right. So number one is San Diego. Number two probably is Fort Collins. And I would say that because the city's great. You got everything you need there. But the problem is you either have to make sure you're on the team charter or you have to go into Denver and then drive up.
Okay.
I would say Colorado Springs is number three because it's really easy to get to. I was doing the play-by-play thing for a lot of years and flying into Denver and then driving down to Air Force, when in reality, Colorado Springs actually has a pretty nice little airport you can get in and out of. So I would probably put that number three. Fresno is number 4. Yeah. Good food. Great food in Fresno.
Great barbecue, I hear.
Great tri-tip sandwich.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to make fun of Fresno. I actually enjoy it. I'm glad that Utah State's in the same conference with them. Albuquerque probably is.
Did you, by the way, I never followed up with you. Did you actually get out and eat? You did not.
I didn't.
There
was a reason.
There
I can't
wasn't
remember.
a reason.
No, there was a reason.
The reason is you. You're the reason.
I was afraid
you're the problem.
I was trying to just kind of sweep that under the rug. Yeah, I didn't.
I've been meaning to ask you, and I kept forgetting, and I was like, I need to ask him. And thank you for reminding me.
My hotel was haunted.
And I know.
You had to be careful about it.
So that's why, because you wanted to hang out in the haunted hotel.
Yeah.
No, that's not the reason.
No, when you I told this story.
You can't even think of what the reason is.
I can't remember what it was. It was a good, authentic reason.
It was nothing.
It was.
You have no reason.
Okay.
Other than apparently you don't like good food.
Yeah, these days, just give me a good protein bar and I'm good. Like I don't get out as much as I used to.
And a nice
little
drink, a nice heart crusher.
Oh, would you stop? You don't need to besmirch the good name of Rockstar energy drinks.
Hey, I have one every once in a while. Nothing wrong with it. It's all good.
Me too.
No judgment.
I have one once in a while.
Like 5 a day?
No, not that many. It's probably when my 14-year-old's giving me grief about it.
Just the other day, I saw you wearing a Monster hat, like you're sponsored.
Okay, that has not happened, but I'd be willing to. Let's go.
You're like a motocross rider.
Just hit me up and we'll find a way to get you on board. I'll endorse the heck out of that for you.
I know you will.
Just for product too. You have to pay me. I'm down for whatever. We're good to go. All right. Laramie's at the bottom of that list, and
as it should.
Yeah, Reno's next to the bottom too. Reno's a tough city, man. Everybody gives grief to Albuquerque because of Breaking Bad. Reno's.
Well, the fact that Johnny Cash went there and shot a man to watch him die.
Yeah,
that tells you all you need to know.
All right, quick little housekeeping. We've got a bunch of stories we've not had a chance to get to, like the old school roulette wheel. Let's hear from Lindsay Vonn as she got injured. We all saw she was injured. She got they brought in the helicopter. They choppered her out of off the slopes. But she unveiled how bad that injury really was, and it wasn't pretty.
Basically, I had a complex tibia fracture. Also fractured my fibular head, my tibial plateau, just kind of everything was in pieces. And the reason why it was so complex was because I had compartment syndrome. And compartment syndrome is when you have so much trauma to one area of your body that there's too much blood and it gets stuck. And it basically crushes everything in the compartment. So all the muscle and nerves and tendons, it all kind of dies. And Dr. Tom Hackett saved my leg. He saved my leg from being amputated. He did what's called a fasciotomy, where he cut open like both sides of my leg, kind of filleted open, so to speak, let it breathe, and he saved me. And I always talk about everything happens for a reason, but if I hadn't torn my ACL, which I would have torn anyways with this crash, if I hadn't done that, Tom wouldn't have been there. He wouldn't have been able to save my leg. So I feel very lucky and grateful for him, for this 6-hour surgery he put in on Wednesday to rebuild it, which went amazingly well. But I was in the hospital a little longer than I had hoped because I had a very low hemoglobin from all the blood loss of all the surgeries. I was really struggling. Pain was a little bit out of control, and I had a blood transfusion, and that helped me a lot. I turned the corner, and now I am out.
And she would go on to say that she's still in a wheelchair because she broke her ankle too.
They filleted her leg.
They filleted her leg. That compartment syndrome is no joke.
Right.
Yeah, that's no joke. Obviously, tons of trauma to that leg and to the knee and everything else that went in there. But I've heard people lose limbs because of compartment syndrome. That's a rough go of it. And to think that that just shows you the speed and athleticism that goes into that event. And when one thing goes wrong, you could end up losing a leg off of that. It's just unbelievable, the amount of trauma that she went through on that. And I think we can safely assume that her skiing career is probably done at this point. But, hey, at least she can walk. She has some quality of life that will be afforded to her coming off that injury. All right, let's go to – now, we've been talking about Darryn Peterson a little bit. And, again, this is kind of our shotgun approach to a segment here where we got a bunch of different topics we haven't had a chance to spend much time on. We have talked a lot about Darryn Peterson and the fact that we don't really know what's going on. He'll take himself out of games. He'll miss long stretches of a game, won't play halves of a game. And at first, Bill Self was very, very much like, hey, look, the guy's injured. The guy's done with the hamstring. Back off. And now even Bill Self is like, hey, we got to get this figured out. We got to figure out what's going on here. We got a tournament coming up. We can't mess around with this anymore. So even he's getting a little bit on edge. And Darryn Peterson had a conversation with the media afterwards.
Somebody's had something to say probably after every game this year, so I don't really pay attention to it anymore. I don't know. I've kind of been a antisocial loner my whole life, so I kind of just deal with it on my own.
I've been an antisocial loner most of my life. All right. It only takes one GM or two GMs to have somebody fall in the draft. And I thought Ben Anderson brought up a really good point earlier about Ace Bailey. You had a few GMs that were a little concerned about his representation, the fact that he wouldn't work out for teams, and he ends up falling in the draft. He may have been able to go number 2, number 3, and said the Jazz have him at number 5, and the Jazz couldn't be happier. Good young man, got right with his representation, and looks to be a key piece of this Jazz organization for many years to come. So he was misidentified, no doubt. Peterson, on the other hand, is he being misidentified? Is this going to hurt him in the draft? The guy has got a skill set that should have him number 1 and not even a remote possibility of him falling in the draft. That's how skilled he is. The comparisons to Kobe Bryant are real. He's got the opportunity to be an elite top 2, top 3 player, if not top 1 player in the NBA. Multiple MVPs. That's the skill set he brings to the table. But if you're a GM out there and you've seen his body of work at Kansas and you hear the comments about being an antisocial loner and you want to bring a guy into your locker room and you still have other really good players available. You got A.J. DeBonce, who's busting his butt playing 40 minutes night in and night out and carrying a BYU team. You got the Boozer kid who's off to a tremendous start of his young career at Duke. You've got all these players out there that are really, really doing everything they can for their team. And then you got this guy who calls himself a loner and has removed himself from games. How much of a red flag is it? Because I think there are a number of GMs that'll be like, you know what? We're not comfortable with that. And then there's others that'll be like, we don't care. We do not care one bit. It's absolutely worth it. To have that kind of generational talent, we 1,000% don't care about how long he's playing, what he's taking himself out of. We don't care. He can be a loner all he wants. He can not talk to a single soul as long as he goes out there, scores 30 points a game, and helps us win games. That's all that matters. I still think he's number 1. I still think whoever has the number 1 overall pick will pick him. Although, I will say, let's just say for the sake of argument, Lloyd, that the Jazz actually do get the number 1 pick. And you got Peterson available. You got A.J. DeBonce. A.J. DeBonce has become a crowning jewel in the state of Utah for so many BYU fans out there. And here's a guy that obviously ties high school to the state of Utah, chose to stay in Utah to play college. And you're worried about, is this guy going to be here for a long time? Well, guess what? You're not going to find somebody who has the capability or at least the potential of staying in Utah for a long time more than A.J. DeBonce.
He's already leaned into the community.
Yeah. He says his favorite class at BYU is the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This kid's made for the state of Utah. So if the Jazz have the number 1 overall pick, do they go DeBonce? And you got Keontae George already. I think they do.
I think so, too.
I think AJ's the number 1 pick. All right, 247, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, we'll wrap up this show, put a nice little tidy bow on it, get you ready for JJ and Alex. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a tremendous day. The week is now, well, we're coming up on Wednesday. By the way, we will be at RGS Exteriors coming up, and always good chat with Tim and the crew out at RGS Exteriors. So here's the deal. Plan on us talking to RGS, and coming up on, I believe, is it tomorrow or Thursday? Thursday we'll be live at RGS, so make sure to stop by, or better yet, just call the guys down at RGS. If you need a exterior of your home addressed, or you got some rain gutter issues, whatever it is, man, if it's on the outside of your home, they'll get you squared away. RGS Exteriors, Tim and the crew ready to help you out. Again, coming up on Thursday, we will be there. All right, wrapping up another edition of what has been a fun show today. Big thanks to Bill Armstrong, who joined us. Big thanks to Mitch Harper, also Kurt Helin, and Ben Anderson. If you missed any part of the show, all you have to do is go to KSLSports.com or just search Scotty G and Friends, and you'll find it on your podcasting platform of choice. Look, I know I'm not a big fan of the name either. We're going to find our guy. We'll rework the name. It's going to happen. Just be patient. Hang in there with us.
You're starting to like it a little bit.
No.
I can see it.
Stop it.
You're not as humble as you once were.
Oh, no. We cannot get that name changed fast enough. Very narcissistic. I'm not.
To think you wanted the Scotty G show. Jeez.
I did not. I wanted
okay. Hey, man.
I wanted the Lloyd Cole show with Scott Gerard.
Right. I remember how that conversation went. You shot that down quickly.
I didn't shoot. Well, okay.
Kidding.
All right.
I'm telling you what. I'm getting people left and right today.
Yeah, you are.
I'm getting people. I'm just having some fun today. I'm loose.
All right.
Having a good time.
Should we talk about hockey teams? Who's going where? Who's getting invitations? Who's not getting invitations?
No, I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
I don't want to do that.
You can bring that up in your meeting later.
Yeah, I'll bring that up in the meeting. I'm just kidding. Come on.
No, I
don't mean it.
See, that's the thing about Lloyd Cole. He only hurts the people that he likes.
Absolutely. There's so much truth to that.
If Lloyd's not trying to get under your skin, he doesn't like it.
Hey, if I see you fishing with me a little bit, I'm going to get you a little bit. I'm going to get you.
Yeah. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.